Wrestle Dynasty is a Tony Khan and AEW production under the disguise of it being part of New Japan Pro Wrestling. The idea of Wrestle Dynasty is to bring together other wrestling promotions to have this big wrestling event right after Wrestle Kingdom 19, which does AEW and Tony Khan no favors when it comes to getting money, meaning that fans are going to have to buy a ticket for this, and fans are going to already be stretched thin because Wrestle Kingdom tickets are not cheap. And then to have it the day after Wrestle Kingdom is a very bad optic look. A very, very bad optic look. I have mentioned in the previous podcast episode that in Japan, they get paid once a month. That money gets distributed to what the household needs. Now, not everyone is in a corporate position, but the majority of Japanese workers are in a corporate position, and it could go for the same in places of mom and pop stores and fast food places that they get paid once a month. And then depending on if they have a family or don't have a family, they can do whatever they want with the funds. But for the majority of this conversation, most Japanese workers will get paid once a month. You can also Google it. It says it there too. However, not everyone is going to want to go to both wrestling events back to back because it does wear thin for money-wise, for getting merchandise, for eating, for all that stuff. So, Tony Khan will have to rely on international fans from America, and the tourists to go see Wrestle Dynasty if they did not get a ticket to Wrestle Kingdom. Because 9 times out of 10, if the fan is from America or international or a tourist, they're not going to have enough money to go to both events. This was a very bad look and optics for Tony Khan, but Tony Khan doesn't understand business, so this is what he gets. This is how it turns out. He doesn't understand business. He doesn't understand how Japanese business culture and buying attitudes work, even though attitude is not the right word, but their buying habits. There we go. He doesn't understand the buying habits of people because he just knows that money is going to be in his bank account no matter what. So if you don't understand the buying habits of people when you travel to different places, this is what happens. You want to book a show, don't really understand what's going on, but you're like, it's going to be great. Of course it's going to be great. Now, the other thing too is that how much does the Japanese fans know about AEW? Because even though AEW is on NJPW World and that is dubbed in Japanese, they have El Desperado and like 2 other people to do the dubbing for AEW Dynamite, a now canceled Rampage and Collision. Those episodes on NJPW World are only available to Japanese subscribers of NJPW World. So someone like myself or other people in the United States that watch AEW are not allowed to watch those episodes unless maybe if you want to try with a VPN. But if you are not a Japanese resident, you won't be able to watch those episodes. But we don't know if Japanese subscribers watch AEW. And for the most part, whenever NJPW ends up putting a vignette or a video that was sent to them from an AEW wrestler, they get no reaction. So again, are people really watching the AEW content that Tony Khan just decided that he'll put on there, and New Japan was like, yeah, sure, that's good, that's fine, yeah, you can add your content onto here. You see what Tony Khan does? Tony Khan wants to make sure that his footprint, the Tony Khan footprint and the AEW footprint is everywhere, but doesn't want to help out his supposed partners that he says, I love NJPW, I love Japanese wrestling, but doesn't want to help them out to try to get a Warner Brothers Discovery pickup rights deal over here in the States. So that way the conversation can change and the perception of Japanese wrestling can change when we talk about it in our bubbles of the wrestling community. Because you need to watch it in order to sort of feel different about it and not just hear through word of mouth when I know that people are just bullshitting and people will just say things because they saw a clip that was out of context and they think that that's all of New Japan Pro Wrestling, or they think that that's all of Japanese wrestling, that's all they do. And we've seen it. But you see how sly Tony Khan can be and be like, hey, let's put AEW on NJPW World for only Japanese residents. It's not like when WWE decided to create a partnership with Wrestle Universe to have WWE shown on there, and then when WWE went to Japan, it was completely sold out. So there's a difference there that Japanese fans, wrestling fans, enjoy WWE more and don't really react too much to AEW wrestlers. Now, with that being said, how much does Japanese fans know about CMLL? Of course, New Japan Pro Wrestling has a partnership with CMLL and has their dedication event, Phantasma, every single year to celebrate the luchadors that come through. And it's all Lucha Libre, it's all Mexican wrestlers with a mixture of the Japanese wrestlers. So Japanese fans get an exposure to CMLL, but will it hold up with this big event? And then you have Stardom. We all love Stardom. Stardom is the sister company to New Japan Pro Wrestling, but because the Stardom women don't really travel with the guys, just to have one-off and cool singles matches for the tours, like the Road 2s, like I think it'll be very beneficial if they have a couple of the ladies come in to do something and have special matches during the Road to the pay-per-views, because during the Road 2s there's not really too much going on, but it will help the fans that they see in every different town across the Japanese island. It will help the fans get reminded that Stardom is a sister company to New Japan Pro Wrestling, if that makes sense. Like, I think that would be very beneficial. They don't have to be on every single stop, but for the most part, just here and there, sprinkle them in, and I think that would be a better outlook. Because having a big thing like this, like, yeah, you get to see all different types of wrestlers, but in order to sell, and make sure that it's a sellout, the fans have to know who's going to be there. Now, let's go over this Wrestle Dynasty card. And I am going over the Wrestle Dynasty card over at the medium that NJPW chose, and it's like, why? But here we go. We're going to start off with the kickoff match, the International Women's Cup, Persephone representing CMLL versus Athena representing Ring of Honor by way of AEW versus Willow Nightingale, AEW by way of AEW versus Momo Watanabe by way of Stardom. This is such a Tony Khan thing, a Tony Khan pattern, that it was sad that he decided to do a tournament, because when he doesn't know how to create something, he goes to what he knows. Tournament this, tournament that, tournament this, tournament that, because he grew up watching a lot of tournaments. New Japan Pro Wrestling and Japanese wrestling in general are known for tournaments. And then we also have general tournaments in life with all types of competition, with all types of athletic and athletes. And so this is no different. But this is an International Women's Cup 4-way match. And the winner gets a choosing what title she wants to go after at a future date. So they get a choice of whatever title they want to go after at a future date. Now, does anybody care? because I don't really care. It's just a four-way match for this is the number one contenders match for whatever title they want. It was really hastily put together with all four companies scrambling to be like, tournament here, tournament here, tournament here, and tournament here. And here we go. We're off to the races. And these are the women that are going to represent the companies of AEW, Ring of Honor by way of AEW, and CMLL and Stardom, because we don't know how to tell a story, because it was just so last minute, because Tony Khan forgets that women need a spotlight too, man. Like, this was just lazily done. Now, do I have a winner? No, because it's not going to make a difference. It really isn't. Just because of how mishandled the kickoff match is, how mishandled the women's division is, and how mishandled this whole thing is, because you can't rely on tournament as a crutch. There's a reason why New Japan Pro Wrestling is really good at tournaments, and they have perfected what they do. But Tony Khan just wants to play copycat when it comes to creating tournaments. Now, on to the next one. Our second kickoff match, again, a Tony Khan pattern, is the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship titles, which is held by Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, will take on House of Torture's own Kanemaru and Sho. Why? On paper, this looks like a fantastic match, but we all know the outcome. House of Torture is not winning Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship Gold. Tony Khan cannot allow himself to have non-AEW wrestlers hold some title. He doesn't allow non-AEW wrestlers to win. So what is the point of having this match of the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships being defended at Wrestle Dynasty in the Tokyo Dome? Like I said, on paper it looks good, but where is the story? Where is the build-up? How come Sho and Kanemaru did not fly out to the Ring of Honor pay-per-view to jump Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, to make a statement? Why did they have to send in a video? Why wasn't there build-up to little tiny hints dropping here and there? House of Torture works like that. House of Torture does shenanigans, yeah, but they also work where they can drop some hints, and they should have did that for this, building up to this, so that way it makes sense for Sammy and Dustin to defend those titles. And Tony Khan has all the money in the world. How come he couldn't fly out Kanemaru and Sho? They have their passports. They're able to come over here quickly to just do an angle and jump them, so that way we could be like, oh, and then now you gotta buy the pay-per-view. That's how stories work, and that's how angles work. Our next match is the Lucha Gauntlet match, which is, why are we doing this? So what this is, I'm just going to read it off of the website. It says, a Lucha Gauntlet match is set to set up 8 competitors across NJPW and CMLL in action. Competitors will enter the ring at 1-minute intervals, with first pinfall or submission deciding the match, but who will be involved in this unpredicted bout? So we don't know who's going to be there. They all have silhouettes. It looks like it's going to be 2 New Japan stars with 2 CMML guys, and the same thing on the other side. And there is no stipulation. There is no high stakes for this. Does any one of them get a title shot? No. None of them get a title shot. They're just there for, I don't want to say eye candy, but they're just there because they're filling in a spot and they're filling in a time. And this is Tony Khan booking, because it makes no sense. There is no point to have a Lucha Gauntlet match. And if it is, put this one on first to open the crowd, and then you start with the women's, and then you go up. And this article that I'm reading from that is explaining the matches, the match card order is to be determined. The next match is the NJPW Strong Women's Championship title. And the RPW Undisputed British Women's Championship title will be on the line. It is winner take all. We have Mercedes Moné, Mina Shirakawa. And again, why? Why are we doing this? Mercedes is just checking off her bucket list before she heads back to WWE. And she's just having these matches and putting nobody over, not elevating nobody, and nobody really wants to have that conversation. It's all about her, and she can't even get over. Mina, on the other hand, gets over because she over-sexualizes herself. She looks good. She looks good. I'll give her the compliment. She looks really, really good. But you have to get in there and take care of business. She does take care of business, because I know somebody in the comments is going to jump on me for that. But why are we having a winner take all for the championship title? Why? Why are we doing that? What is the point? Does that mean that Mercedes Moné is going to show up at RPW with all the belts and challenge the women there and bury the division? Is Mina going to show up at RPW with all the belts too? Like, what's the story here? What's the angle? What's going to happen next? How do we build this up to make it make sense, rather than just allowing Mercedes Moné to try to be this belt collector that she wants to be, because she wants all the accolades, but she never wants the commitment? And what that means is that she will put herself first and not elevate nobody, get all the belts, and go from promotion to promotion to promotion, rather than staying and working on one story at a time, maybe two stories where you have some loose threads that have yet to fully be realized and completed and move on to the next chapter. Mercedes Moné, ever since she came into AEW, it's like the Moné show. It's not even the AEW women's division in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, at least, maybe 2023. The division felt like a division. There wasn't just one focus. Well, maybe not 2023, because Timeless, Toni Storm, and Mariah May and Mina took over as the big voices, the big story, and the men loved it because it was for the men and maybe for some of the ladies out there. But they became known because it was all about them. Now that Mercedes came in, she pushed everyone to the side, and now it's all about her, and she's taking up most of the spotlight and not elevating anybody. But she wants to be the belt collector, but without the commitment of actually building people up when you're in a company. And it is very blatant, and you can see it. So yeah, I don't know why we have this match. It's not really exciting. Moné don't put nobody over except for herself. Mina is adorable and she's hot, but do we really need this match? Our next match in Wrestle Dynasty is one I am not looking forward to. The Young Bucks should be nowhere near New Japan Pro Wrestling. You guys got kicked out of New Japan Pro Wrestling and Bullet Club, and you went to go start your own company, and then you're going back to the place that kicked you out because of new management, and Tanahashi is not going to do anything about it? Originally, this was supposed to be the Great O'Khan and Hinare versus Matt and Nick Jackson for the IWGP Tag Team Championship. However, during World Tag League, unfortunately, Hinare got injured. He injured his knee. So both the Great O'Khan and Hinare were out of World Tag League, and Naito and Hiromu won World Tag League, which is amazing. So now, at Wrestle Dynasty, it will be Hiromu and Naito taking on the Young Bucks to decide who is winning the IWGP Tag Team Championship titles. And it better be Naito and Hiromu. It better not be the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are so far damaged that they are super meta at this point, and no one cares about the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks do not need to be in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They don't. What they're going to do when they win the titles? They're going to do absolutely nothing. It's going to be the same reoccurring BS that happened when Moxley won the title and nothing came about it. What new can the Young Bucks do? The Young Bucks likes to run away a lot. The Young Bucks don't want to improve upon themselves so that way they could be the talk of the town. Everything to them has to be meta. Everything to them has to be inside baseball, for the lack of a better term. Everything to them has to be a fucking joke rather than taking control of the company. They are EVPs, but they get to do whatever they want and definitely get whatever they want, even though people were telling me that they don't get whatever they want. But they held the tag team division in AEW hostage because, again, in AEW, it's like an individualism thing, and they think that they are all the main characters. But they're not the main characters. It is a team effort. And with that being said, the Young Bucks does not need to win this match. The next match is the Never Openweight Championship title, and the challenger is Ishii versus whoever wins between Konosuke and Shingo from Wrestle Kingdom 19. Ishii, get out of the Never Openweight Championship title matches. You have the most reigns in New Japan Pro Wrestling as the Never Openweight Champion, sir. Get out of this division. It is not needed. Get out of it. And this is a stupid match either way, because it doesn't make sense that we have Shingo versus Konosuke, like I said in the previous one, for the championship title, and then the challenger is going to be Ishii. There are other people on the roster that deserve this spot. They could have put a CMLL guy in the spot of Ishii. They could have put a New Japan up-and-comer guy that needed a breakout moment in this spot for Wrestle Dynasty. But again, it is Tony Khan booking. Why is Ishii getting another Never Openweight Championship title match? Honestly, the Never Openweight Championship match, I should say the title, this match should not even be on the card. Shingo and Konosuke should take a rest after Wrestle Kingdom. Ishii should take a rest after Wrestle Kingdom, but Ishii does not need to be there. Our next match is Tsuji versus Jack Perry. Why? I'm just going to read you the thing because this is something. Our other potential IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship match of the night will see Yota Tsuji face the scapegoat Jack Perry. For both Tsuji and Perry, March of 2024 will be a month that stays in the memory of their entire careers. It was that month that Yota Tsuji won the New Japan Cup, heralding, in his own words, the true birth of a new era in New Japan Pro Wrestling. But yet, New Japan Pro Wrestling is burying you, Yota Tsuji. That was my own insert comment there. The article goes on to say that tournament victory somewhat overshadowed what was also a formative month for Perry, though. After months away in an exit shrouded in controversy, Perry had emerged as the scapegoat in Japan and with the support of House of Torture. No, that did not overshadow Yota Tsuji, not at all. The article goes on to say, in embracing House of Torture, Perry embraced the worst and most hated part of himself, and in doing so, became successful enough to hold the TNT Championship, wherein he reappeared in AEW. By the way, I totally forgot he won the TNT Championship title. That's how much these titles are just toys in AEW and doesn't mean shit. The article goes on to say, while his attack to Tsuji at Fighting Spirit Unleashed in November seems to have been motivated by lingering jealousy in the spring, I don't understand how we got here. How did we get here? How does that make sense that he got so jealous because of the springtime he wants to go and attack Tsuji? Like, you guys are on two different parallels. You guys work for two different companies. Now, I will say that they did grab my attention and my interest when Jack Perry joined House of Torture and became the scapegoat, because I was like, look at that, a fresh idea. But guess who stops it all? Guess who destroys it all, and no one knows if he's still part of House of Torture? AEW and Tony Khan and the Elite. They fucking destroy it. Anyway, the article goes on to say, the scapegoat tells it as Perry looking to bring Tsuji into the dark side to realize his full potential, and for Perry to potentially become champion again in the process, because if Yota Tsuji defeats David Finlay on January 4th for Wrestle Kingdom 19, he could be entering into this match as the new IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion. So that's why they said that in the article. Now, why would you want to bring Tsuji over to the dark side? Why? Why do you want to do that? Tsuji is already cunning. He's like that cat from Alice in Wonderland that you have to really be on your toes and have a head on a swivel, because Tsuji is very crafty. Why does he need to go over to House of Torture? That wouldn't make any sense. That wouldn't help Tsuji's character. Tsuji does not need to go to the dark side. And Jack Perry, small ass Jack Perry, to try to bring big ass Yota Tsuji over to the dark side. Not gonna work. Anyway, this match does not need to happen. The story build up to it does not make sense. These guys are on two different parallels, works for two different companies, have two different goals, and I wish that there was just a clear motivation and story for the scapegoat Jack Perry to still be in New Japan Pro Wrestling and run things and actually have something fresh, because that was very, very interesting. Now, he could go after Tsuji if he would stay a couple tours in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then it'll make sense to have this match, because Jack Perry sees potential in Yota Tsuji to join the ranks of House of Torture and become a darker Tsuji to get things done, to get championship titles. But Yota Tsuji he's a very kind-hearted man. He has a big heart. It's not really going to happen. Something is going to have to push him over the edge and break that heart for him to become part of House of Torture and realize that maybe, just maybe, letting the darkness enter his light-filled heart will bring the better side of Tsuji out, and Tsuji could become champion. Tsuji can run New Japan Pro Wrestling. People will kneel to him. Like, there's so much that we could do with this story-wise that, like, it's gonna get stopped and destroyed by Tony Khan and his creative, because he doesn't have creativeness. And I wish that I can be working with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I wish I could sign that New Japan contract and just help with creative, and we could do something special between Yota Tsuji and Jack Perry. Because you want to know why? I actually believe in the scapegoat Jack Perry. Like, I like the concept. I like what he done with it, and that could be an awesome layer to explore as a character development, and it could go any which way. It doesn't have to just stay on the whole CM Punk thing. It could morph from that. The whole CM Punk thing could be a jumping platform into whatever we can make it to be, and Jack Perry will still be talked about. Then Jack Perry can go on a crusade of fighting different wrestlers that he believes would be a good choice to join House of Torture, or make his own group as the scapegoat and lead everybody. Now, to most people that are listening to this, they're probably going to be like, well, that's not really realistic, because Jack Perry is still a small guy. You don't really believe it that way. But with the correct use of filmmaking and doing cinema and using social media to our advantage, and picking and choosing how to present this idea that I have for Jack Perry being the scapegoat, and how he can either form his own group or just doing some really cool creative stuff, will change the perception of wrestling fans. This is how much I believe in the creative outlet that wrestling gives us, because wrestling is theater. Theater is the purest form of wrestling, where we have wrestlers that are characters that create these nicknames, and every single time we fall in love with the character. And that is all I want to do in wrestling, is to have wrestling fans fall in love with the wrestler character, and everything that goes on is storytelling. Our next match is David Finlay versus Brody King. This is a special singles match, and if Finlay were to be victorious on January 4th, Wrestle Kingdom 19, it will be for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship match. Again, why are we having this match? By the way, I'm not a Brody King fan. I see him, he's a big guy, he does big chops. I just never really got around to sitting down and watching stuff and seeing how his character developed. I'm just not on that hype train like everybody else, just so you guys know. And why are we having this? Why are we having this? Let me just read this for everybody. One-time allies become Tokyo Dome opposition when David Finlay takes on Brody King, safe in assumption that he'll retain the IWGP Global Championship at Wrestle Kingdom. Finlay issued an open challenge for January 5th, and King answered. Oh yeah, he did that. I totally forgot that he issued an open challenge, which he should have never done. While I admire David Finlay for being a fighting champion for that Global Heavyweight Championship title, he should be resting on January 5th. He should not be fighting at all. The article goes on to say Brody is familiar with Finlay and teamed with the yet-to-be Rebel King a handful of times, most recently at Windy City Riot in 2022. Of course, because all Tony Khan knows how to do is rehash shit from the past. There is nothing creative that goes on currently. Finlay took a very different turn since, and has become the strongest and most violent version of himself at the head of the War Dogs. King, meanwhile, will join AEW's House of Black, a faction that, in King's own words, is intent on bringing out the deepest, darkest part of everyone we deal with. But it has all failed. It's not like Karrion Kross and his team. They brought out the darkness in everyone, aka Shinsuke Nakamura. House of Black has yet to do that except for Julia Hart, the only person. The article goes on to say that only adds intrigue to what could be the most hard-hitting match of the weekend and one that could have global gold on the line. Well, I want David Finlay to rest. He does not need that match. Our next match is Shota Umino versus Claudio Castagnoli. Man, if you guys did not listen to the previous podcast episode about this, go back and listen because, man, I don't know what else to say. I really don't. I really, really, really don't. Our next match is maybe the main event, maybe not the main event, but it's still, Wrestle Kingdom / Wrestle Dynasty given on a platter, and it is Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ricochet. And if Zack Sabre Jr. is victorious in winning his match against Shota Umino and remaining the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, this match against Ricochet will be for the title. Now, this was given to Ricochet. Ricochet did not earn this spot against Zack Sabre Jr. At least with Shota Umino, even though he was losing a lot and still trying to do his best to be seen by Zack Sabre Jr. and has defeated Zack Sabre Jr., I believe, like one time in a non-title match. That is why Shota Umino is in the position that he is in, even though if you guys heard my previous podcast episode, I don't think Shota Umino should be there just yet. But for the sake of this, Shota earned that. Despite anything, Shota earned that. Ricochet did not earn shit. And by the way, I was going to do a audio reaction to Ricochet sitting down with interviewers and talking about his comeback to New Japan Pro Wrestling and, just reacting to his comments. And how many times can Ricochet say the same thing over and over and over again as if he only knows a thesaurus and nothing new, no new context? And to say that I'm going to keep showing people what I'm capable of, and then says some more words, and then says, it's what I'm capable of. Sir, do you know what you're capable of? Because for someone to keep saying that, I'm going to go out there and show the fans what I'm capable of, and I'm capable of this, and I'm capable of that, and no one has seen how capable I am. Well, you haven't given us a reason to be like, okay, he is capable. You do the same thing. Everything is choreographed. Everything is waiting for a spot. And I realized that during that interview, I believe in that interview, he mentions about like Spider-Man and Marvel Comics and superheroes. And that's a mindset that he needs to get out of in order to improve as a wrestler, because No one is going to get it. And then you're going to think that haters are going to hate the kind of art, and I'm going to put art in quotation marks, the kind of art that you are making. Not everyone is into comics. Not everyone watches the Marvel movies or DC. There are people that do, but sometimes they don't, which is totally okay. So that means that not everyone is going to be on the inside of something that you love so dearly and you want to bring it to life. And I get that. And we have the technology to make cinema and to make moments by trying to recreate something from the Avengers. And when you assemble the team and you take down the big bad guy Thanos, or when you do something related to Spider-Man and maybe you have a monologue and a dialogue where basically you're talking about your fears and motivations, or hyping somebody up, or telling the world that you got screwed out of a championship title match because XYZ don't like you, something like that, right? Something to the effect of the characters that you love in the comic book world because they stand for something that you believe in. But to put that into wrestling 24/7 is not going to work. Ricochet does all the gymnastics in the world and yet is not polished. I still need him to work a hold. I still need him to give me some psychology behind the gymnastics and the choreographed spots, and we can see all of the choreographed spots. AEW does not hide any of those stuff to make it look special for people that are watching at home. Everything that AEW does, you can see it. It's obvious. We see it in real time. But AEW fans want to tell me that I am completely wrong on this situation, on this observation that I could clearly see. All of the spots, we can see them. They are not special. Ricochet is not special. He left WWE. What is he doing now in AEW? He is complaining. He is trying to build a character by getting toilet paper thrown on him rather than streamers. And again, this goes back to me talking about meta. When wrestlers dive into the meta backpack and want to bring it to the forefront. For anybody that is new to professional wrestling, I need you guys to sit down and listen. Have those ears open. Back in the 2000s, when indie wrestling was at its peak and it was fantastic, it was a tradition, because we took it from Japan, that if we were to throw streamers, the same streamers that you would use for like a house party and stuff like that, we would take the streamers and throw it into the ring. That was a sign of respect. And we took that from Japanese wrestling culture. We didn't create it. The Japanese created it as a way of showing their appreciation, because back in the day, before Kenny Omega came along and people were clapping and getting more excited and showing emotion and stuff like that, before all of that, the Japanese crowd was more of a clapping crowd. They were very silent. In Japanese wrestling culture back in the day, if they were silent, that means that you were doing something right. They took the opposite of what American wrestling is. In American wrestling, in wrestling schools, they teach you that if the crowd is not reacting, you're doing something bad. If you're not hearing noises from the crowd, you're doing something bad, and that was in American culture. In Japanese culture, it was the opposite. If the Japanese fans were quiet, they were being respectful to you and clap when it was needed, but they did not make the same noises and cheerleading responses and reactions like Americans. So what they did was they took streamers and they threw it into the ring, and that was their way of showing appreciation for wrestlers. Now, during the boom of the independent wrestling scene over here in the United States, we took that part of Japanese culture, put it into American culture, and we threw the streamers into the ring, and that was appreciation for the wrestlers. And we understood that if we were to throw toilet paper, that was for disrespect, to be disrespectful. It's the same way that in MLW, whenever Kojima comes out and he wins and or just regularly comes out for a match, we throw bread into the ring because he likes bread. It's the same idea, same concept. So, because for some reason Ricochet wants to rehash the indies and have people throw toilet paper into the ring, you're not teaching the new fans why this is. And this goes back to when I was talking about wrestlers being meta. Ricochet is being meta. He says something online, he gets people riled up, people say some shit, and then he tries to clap back, and he can't clap back because he doesn't have that clap back game for some odd reason. But then again, it shows he can't cut a promo. And uses that negativity and puts people into the crowd that has the toilet paper because they're plants, and have them throw that into the ring so that way people can still talk about it online. And then new age fans that don't know nothing about wrestling, that don't want to research anything about wrestling, or even the trolls, will try to make it seem as if like this is a character development, this is a gimmick. No, if we throw toilet paper into the ring, it is not a gimmick. It is not to build a wrestler's gimmick. You guys don't know what a gimmick is? You guys don't know what a character is? It's definitely not by throwing toilet paper into the ring and then be like, I got a character. Because people throw toilet paper at me like, oh my God, that's my character right now. Like, oh my God, I'm so hated online. Guys, do you not see the whole transparency here of the internet and me and all my haters? My haters are toilet paper. You know what's an actual character? If Ricochet came out and said that he's toilet paper man, that's a character, that's a gimmick. Ricochet coming out being like, I will no longer be referred to as Ricochet, but toilet paper man. That is a gimmick, that is a character. Just because we have switched out streamers for toilet paper to throw at Ricochet because Ricochet wants to use the meta from online discourse, mainly Twitter, when people get upset at him, as a metaphor for sucking in the ring, sucking at promos, sucking at what he does, and using that as a metaphor for haters, is not character development. It is not a gimmick. So for all the new age fans out there, please ask people who know about terms and will tell you like it is, or do research and ask questions. Don't just say that, oh, this is character development for Ricochet because it's getting better. This is a good character development. No, it's not. It's just being meta because nobody at AEW knows how to be original. Why are we trying to go back to something that was the peak of the wrestling industry back in the day and trying to rehash it because Ricochet don't know how to be a character? Ricochet doesn't know how to work on his promos. And how do you not want to work on your promos? How do you think that everything is perfect? No wrestler is perfect. No wrestling company is perfect. No person is perfect. But in Ricochet's mind, it is. And that's what's stopping him, because it's like, this is going to create his villain arc in a way. And if it does create his villain arc, it's not going to be anywhere good. I just don't understand why he doesn't want to work on his promos. Why he doesn't want to work on psychology. Why he doesn't want to work on, let's make a different match. Why does it have to be handstand into somebody grabbing him, no selling? Oh, well, I'm going to have to get my shit in. You can't get your shit in. Oh, you knocked me out. Oh, I'm just going to, sort of sell, not really sell, and then do the next thing. And how does that tell a story? How does that tell us who Ricochet is? How does that tell us what you're capable of? You know what being capable really means? Is that you're able to adapt. You're able to fight everybody and anybody and use your smartness if you have to outsmart a big guy. Meaning, for example, he could have came back to WWE and he could have took out Braun Breaker and be smarter about it, because even though Braun is fast, he got that football speed. Ricochet is smaller. Ricochet can definitely trip him up in a very smart way. But Ricochet don't fight smart. Ricochet fights as if like he's that superhero, like that main character. When it's like, bro, you're not the main character. You have to start from scratch. You have to make us believe that you are different from WWE, from your WWE days. And it has not happened at all. And the fact that the Hurt Syndicate definitely buried him so bad that there's no coming back from that. He might as well be Toilet Paper Man on the next AEW Dynamite. And of course, that's me kidding. That's me setting up a joke for that, because it'd be really stupid if he does become Toilet Paper Man. Like, really, really stupid. But we'll see what happens. But that was an example to give to the New Age fans what a gimmick and a character is. Just because they throw toilet paper into the ring at Ricochet, that does not do anything. Now, with that being said, Ricochet better not win, just because it's like, he didn't do much to earn it. He's not talking about it. He's playing this weird character in his mind that he thinks he's getting over, but it's just a bunch of meta shit from the internet to turn it into a story. And it's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. And Zack Sabre Jr. hasn't said anything about it. Nobody sent over a video about this. The buildup is shit. He got handed an opportunity that could have been for somebody else at Wrestle Dynasty to face Zack Sabre Jr. You know, again, these guys that come into AEW and they tell Tony Khan, I want this, I want that, and they get granted whatever they want, they don't put the work in. Because I would have sent Ricochet over to New Japan Pro Wrestling and have him build up the story with Zack Sabre Jr. to push Ricochet to make sure that he's able to learn how to do a promo, to learn how to create a character, to learn how to interact with the fans and with the wrestlers, and just get into the groove of becoming a better version of Ricochet and not what we see in WWE. And as always, I will be willing to have a conversation with him to help him improve if he ever wants to take me up on that offer. But yeah, Zack Sabre Jr. definitely needs to win this, retain the title, and then I don't know what's going to happen from there. Now, the last match on Wrestle Dynasty is a match that I have said over and over and over again, and I will not change my tune. It is Kenny Omega versus Gabriel Kidd. This is a special single match. We do not need this. We never needed this. We never needed Kenny Omega versus Gabriel Kidd. I can understand Gabriel Kidd getting upset at Kenny Omega not saying his name correctly. And I say it too, that, you know, I call him Gabriel Kidd and his Gabe Kidd. The only reason why I say Gabriel is because I'm so used to that name. I know other wrestlers with the name Gabriel and it just rolls off the tongue. I'm not used to saying Gabe, but I highly respect Gabe Kidd. I really, really do. I respect the guy and I will be on his side. Gabriel Kidd needs to win this, because if he doesn't, what the fuck have you done? You would destroy Gabriel Kidd. You would destroy him if Kenny Omega gets the win. Kenny Omega has to lose this. But then again, if we have Kenny Omega lose, what is that going to do for Gabriel Kidd? I'm sorry, what's that going to do for Gabe Kidd? It's not really going to do anything, because Kenny Omega is damaged goods. Kenny Omega is coming back after getting kicked out of New Japan Pro Wrestling and getting kicked out of Bullet Club. But Kenny Omega wants to play the fucking kayfabe shit of being the villain and wants to play the whole thing of, I don't like guys like you that destroy what I created. Dude, you haven't been there since. You went to go create AEW and AEW is floundering. Like, why are you coming back? What credibility do you have to take on a War Dog member like Gabe Kidd of Bullet Club? You don't even lay claim to Bullet Club anymore. You don't even talk about Bullet Club anymore. You don't even talk about the good old days anymore. At least the founder of Bullet Club, Finn Balor, still has that Bullet Club aura around him when he is in Judgment Day. But Kenny Omega, you have nothing. You came back from a life-threatening illness, and I am happy that you are 100%, I am guessing, and I am happy that you have recovered from this life-threatening health issue. But the same way that Brock Lesnar had the same life-threatening health issue, you don't need to be in wrestling at the very moment. The same way that Brock Lesnar doesn't need to be in wrestling at this very moment. And I say that because I am very concerned, because I don't want something to happen and an accident that you cannot come back from, or you need to retire, happens in the ring because it's related to the life-threatening health scare that you had. This is why it doesn't make sense for you to come back and still be wrestling, but I am going to blame the delusional Kenny Omega fans. There are more things in life that you should be doing at this very moment, where you should be on vacation, because you deserve it. You're the cleaner. You gave us so many years of wonderful memories. You had Uncle Dave break his star-rated scale, and you're here wanting to still wrestle, and it's like, dude, look out for your life. The same way that I am very concerned about your life, look out for your own life. It is okay to say that you're going to take a long break, take a vacation, make sure that everything is in tip-top shape, and then maybe come back in a few years and want to do a farewell tour and give more back to the fans. But to come right back into the fold and fight Gabe Kidd, someone who is violent, someone who is unsafe, and he said it himself in his message to you that he is unsafe, and we've seen it, that he's unsafe. We've seen how mad he can get. That's why he says he's a madman, to be the first opponent back and not have an easy match. If Kenny Omega was advertised to have an easy match, meaning he will be tag teaming with Tanahashi to take on the Young Bucks to right all the wrongs because the Young Bucks kicked him out again and made fun of his life-threatening health scare, I would have no problem. I will be like, fantastic. Have that tag match, be safe, and let's see what happens. But to fight against a madman that all he wanted to do was talk about the fact that he felt slighted at the fact that you fucked up his name, and then you guys had the brawl when all you guys could do was just talk, but then ran to the press to play the victim and to get fan interest. Of course you're going to get fan interest because Kenny Omega fans are delusional. They don't believe in Kenny, you need a vacation. They believe in Kenny, we need you to be the best bout machine, and we need you to be a sacrifice in the ring for us because we don't know what to do with our lives. That is what they do. That is what they cheer for. And they are passionate, and I get that. But at the same time, as a wrestling fan that says to support the wrestler, you should also support the wrestler to make sure that they're safe and that they're healthy, and maybe nudge them to be like, bro, go take a vacation. You did everything. There is nothing for Kenny Omega to continue to do in his career. Gabriel Kidd has everything to do in his career. And Gabe Kidd is the breakout star of 2024. For New Japan Pro Wrestling. Gabe Kidd should be facing Shingo. Gabe Kidd should be facing David Finlay for that Global Heavyweight Championship title. Gabe Kidd should be doing it all, and he is. And fighting Kenny Omega is not going to elevate Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd has been elevating himself and even his opponents every time that he battles with them and become a violent man. Gabriel Kidd has elevated himself, and he has elevated Bullet Club War Dogs, and everyone around him has elevated him too. So again, I say, why do we need this match? Gabriel Kidd defeats Kenny Omega, which I hope that happens. It's really not going to do anything. Are we doing a passing of the torch? That wouldn't make sense. Because again, Kenny Omega does not lay claim to Bullet Club anymore. He doesn't talk about Bullet Club. He doesn't bring it up. He doesn't have that aura of, a once Bullet Club leader. Like I said, he's not like Finn Balor. You know that Finn Balor is a badass, and you know that he started Bullet Club, and he has that same aura when he's in Judgment Day. So if this was a fantasy booking, a real true Forbidden Door, all promotions on a wrestling card like Wrestle Dynasty, and we had the ability to take Finn Balor and put him against Gabe Kidd, I will be all for it. Because at least I know that Finn Balor remembers his roots. Kenny Omega doesn't remember his roots. He doesn't. The Elite don't remember their roots. The Elite has been so far removed from what Bullet Club has done for them to make them the stars that they are today. But it's still like Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, trying to fight a Bullet Club member. Well, the Young Bucks run away and they want to get the IWGP World Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. But Kenny still thinks he's top dog because I did a audio reaction to both promo videos hyping this match up. And Kenny Omega has become the heel for no reason. And that is going to turn Gabe Kidd babyface. And this is another thing that Kenny Omega doesn't try to understand is that, dude, you are the babyface. You are coming back. You were timid to come back into New Japan Pro Wrestling because you didn't know how the acceptance and the reception would be when you entered into that ring and say that this is your home and you're never going to leave it and all this kind of stuff. But I understand that shit happens and situations happen and you get kicked out and you want to come back, but you are the babyface and Gabe Kidd has to be the heel. I said in the audio reaction that will be dropping after this episode that Gabriel Kidd is the anti-hero. He is the antagonist, and he does a wonderful job at it. So to try and turn him babyface because you want to play the anime villain, like, come on, Kenny. This is why this match doesn't need to happen, because already the story is convoluted because you want to be the heel. Yes, it is very easy to be the heel. Most wrestlers will opt for being the heel, but you have to play ball. You have to play ball. You have to be the babyface, and Gabriel Kidd has to be Gabe Kidd. He has to be that. If Gabe Kidd ever hears any of my podcasts talking about him, I am not trying to maliciously call him Gabriel. Like I said, it's just one of those things that I am so used to. And I'm so used to calling him that before he had his psychotic break and all the shit that happened to him, and calling himself Gabe Kidd now. And one day I hope to meet him, talk to him, not be intimidated by him, because yes, he does intimidate me, which I am not afraid to say it. I do hope that I get to meet him one day, share a moment with him, and let him know that he is definitely needed still here, and that I'm on his side. Just because wrestling can take a really bad toll on people's mental health and we don't talk about it as much. And just given the fact that everything that Gabe Kidd went through, no one needs to go through that. So it's one of those like, I see you, dude. I recognize you. But as far as this match goes for Wrestle Dynasty, Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd all the way, man. Gabe Kidd for the win. For the win. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have my thoughts on Wrestle Dynasty, which I think is 100% a TK production with the disguise of it being a New Japan Pro Wrestling show / pay-per-view, because New Japan Pro Wrestling would not make such a sloppy card. By the way, they would not. I know someone's going to try to challenge me on that. You can challenge me on that, but for the most part, it's a sloppy Wrestle Dynasty card that was put together by TK. All the patterns are there. And if you are not watching in real time, it might be time for you to take off your blind positivity, rose-colored glasses and see reality for what it is. And then maybe AEW would restore the feeling. Maybe we'll get to that. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to help out the podcast more, and if you want to help me out more in the brand, all you have to do is share this podcast episode with your friends. If you love YouTube, head over to Square Circle Podcast. Head over to youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast. Hit that subscribe button. Click that like button as well and leave a comment. That would definitely help out the video into the algorithm that is youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast and YouTube in general. If you are listening to this on Spotify, make sure you are following the Square Circle Podcast on Spotify. It's just Square Circle Podcast. No the. Make sure you're hitting that follow button on Spotify to never miss an update again or a notification. Also on Spotify, Spotify is now accepting comments. So if you have something to say, drop a comment. I will respond to it. The same thing on youtube.com/Square Circle Podcasts. And if you want to pick up any type of merch, I have new merch for the winter. That link will be down in the description below, and also as a pinned comment over on YouTube. If you want Discord access, you guys can also click that link down in the box below and also on the pinned comment. And if you want the wrestling planner, stay tuned for socials. And if you want extra wrestling content, head over to my newsletter. It is free to sign up. marieshadows.substack.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode of me talking about Wrestle Dynasty for 2025. And I will be watching and I will be reviewing, and let's see how it goes. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in and listening. And I am your host, Marie Shadows, and I'll see you guys on the next one.